Pole position to Andrew Smith, Barry Riddell alongside, then it's Willie Toy and Robert Marshall, Ray Boyd and Tommy Gilmartin in the Capri rounding off the top 6. 7th is Donald Laird, then Jimmy Crow, Nick Boyes, Matthew Gordon, Kieran Bailey and Robin Ben completing the top dozen. 13th place Alan Barron, then Andy Walker and Ian Longford, Colin Beveridge in the Alpha Sud 16th from Ian Morton and George Leach. Scott Goodfellow in the Terrier, then Alistair Coates and Bruce Weir, Christy Doran, Cameron Gilmore and Michael Connon. Grid completed by Stan Bernard and Grant Allen. Stan with a bit of work to do, starting at the back of the field, not taking in the qualifying. This a two-day meeting, and the qualifying on the Saturday. You can see the diminutive yellow Austin A30 of Cameron Gilmore just ahead of him, running understandably in the smallest engine class, but we're on board from 4th on the grid. Robert Marshall, look at that, eats up the number 70 Golf liveried Triumph TR8 of Barry Riddell, but Barry's getting it through the gears and powers his way back into second position as they go down Duffer's Dip for the first time into Scotsman Corner. Now Andy Smith, in theory, is going to pull away. That's exactly what we're used to seeing the Class E Morgan do. Now I remind you that Class E, for the purposes of this race, the biggest engine class, the 3.9 litre Morgan Plus 8, we've got 3 Triumph TR8s in the class as well. Barry Riddell, Willie Toy and of course newcomer Christy Doran racing as well, and I really take my hat off to Christy getting stuck in. So classic racing's a really good place for young drivers to cut their teeth in racing. We've seen some very successful single-seater racers do it over the last couple of seasons. I was going to say most notably Michael Lyons is up in the Formula Renault Championship in recent years. Now here comes the battle down. Off goes, that's Ian Longford in the Mark 1 Escort running in Class C, who's out of the race. So Ian Longford's going to be absolutely gutted about that. Very, very disappointing for Ian as we look at Raymond Boyd in the Porsche 911, looking at the inside line of Willie Toy in the TR8. Up ahead of them, it's Robert Marshall in the Mark II Escort. And you can see the roof-mounted camera giving us a splendid shot, splendid onboard shot from that car currently in 3rd place. But Barry Riddell consolidating 2nd place. Down behind them, the leading Class B runner, the 1558cc Lotus Elan of Donald Laird. And then we look down the order too, where Ian Longford we lost. We've got Alistair Coates racing in the Jensen Healey in Class C, and Bruce Weir in the Lotus Sunbeam. So Andrew Smith continuing to get away at the moment from Barry Riddell in 2nd place. Top 5 looking fairly settled. There's Donald Laird in 6th place. And there's the Escort that we were talking about. Jimmy Crow having a good run and also making progress as well is the number 1 car. Excellent progress from Stan Bernard over the first field, right from the back of the grid up into is it 7th position or 8th position in the race at the moment. Nick Boyes going through in the Mini. 2 class wins for Nick at the first meeting. Championship, but probably a good time to talk about championship points shared after the first round by each of the class leaders. Robert Marshall on 50 points, Stan Bernard on 50, Nick Boyes and Andrew Smith all on 50 points as well. Donald Laird in Class B took a brace of wins, but because of the lesser entries in Class B scored less points, but he is the Class B leader. Second in Class A to Nick Boyes is George Leach, who we've been used to seeing racing the Mini Ogle over the years, but it's now switched to a Mark 1 Fiesta, and of course pre-1980 cars can be used, as we do indeed see George Leach there running in the Fiesta. Difficult to think when you've got XR2s running here at Knockhill as a main championship that the Mark 1 Fiesta can now run as a classic. Andy Walker there in car number 10, that's the Triumph Sport, and then just behind him the 16 red Alpha Sud of Colin Beveridge, having a a good run of it at the moment. Looks up the inside of Andy Walker. I'm sure he's going to be able to nip through at the moment. Andy Walker running in Class A, 1298cc car. Colin Beveridge also in Class A. There is Nick Boys in the Mini, who always manages to mix it with some of the faster cars. In this particular case, what we would say is a customary, well, not quite a battle, but Robin Ben down behind him. But let's go back and pick up the battle for third position. Still Robert Marshall in that Brayon Engineering prepared Escort Mark II. Robert, a relatively recent returnee to racing, acquitting himself very well in that beautiful piece of machinery. All of the cars, of course, beautiful in their own right, but a lot of time and effort been spent on that car. And look at that, really locking up, coming into the corner, and through on the inside goes Willie Toy. But look at Robert Marshall, really got the run. The car almost on rails once it got in a straight line. The exit of the hairpin, superb. Just taking a moment to enjoy that shot under the bridge, down into Scotsman Corner. Marshall really got this car absolutely on song and on his way to a Class C victory for sure. Fastest lap, unsurprisingly. Down the inside and through past him goes Raymond Boyd up into third position. So Raymond Boyd sails past in the Class D Porsche 911, which again you'd expect the Class D cars to have a little bit more grunt, but nonetheless a superb overtake there by Raymond Boyd into third position. Andrew Smith leading from Barry Riddell. There is the blue Porsche running in fourth position, and we need to look back and see how Stan Bernard's getting on. Grant Allen, another driver in the red Porsche, starting at the back of the field as well. He too is making excellent progress through the field. So here's Donald Laird. Now Donald Laird was the car that Stan Bernard was chasing, so we need to just try and have a look. Stan's past him in actual fact, so Stan now about to, I think, put a lap between himself and Christy Doran. Andrew Smith though, 2 outright wins so far this year, and about to, I think, make it number 3. Stan Bernard not on at the moment due to that rear of the grid start for a win in his class. Stan in Class D, and in fact it's going to be a third place at the moment because you've got Barry Riddell, Raymond Boyd in the mix as well. Lotus Sunbeam with Bruce Weir, nice to see. The Ford Terrier there, Scott Goodfellow, very interesting car as well. Past Cameron Gilmore in the Austin A30, the Class A car. Finds himself lapped as you would expect, but again a wonderful car to see, and a new driver to motorsport. Blue flag being shown to the back marker drivers. Now what's interesting for me here is Andrew Smith not getting away too far ahead of Barry Riddell, or indeed Raymond Boyd or Robert Marshall. They're all in really with a shout of perhaps an overall win here, but the glorious sound of that 3.9 litre Morgan Plus 8, I think, looking pretty comfortable at the moment. Smith in the 73 car. Fastest lap for him so far, 60.124, average speed of 76.642 miles per hour, and gobbling up the back markers in this 10-lap race. Now the next target for him is Scott Goodfellow. I mentioned quite an interesting car, which would date from the probably 1959, 1960. The Terrier originally built by Len Terry, the Lotus Grand Prix engineer. Lotus in the days of Colin Chapman. Driving standards flag going out to somebody, not quite sure who that is. The black and white one. We've got the last lap board going out as well, so on to lap 10. And the race leader, Andrew Smith, looks like he's going to make it 3 out of 3. There is Stan Bernard, who's made it up into 6th position. Donald Laird will be next through in terms of overall positions. You just saw Donald making his way through, but we've got a challenge on now for second position, because Raymond Boyd is putting pressure on Barry Riddell as Andrew Smith goes through in lead position there. And the Triumph gets it slightly sideways, and up the inside Raymond Boyd's having to go for second position. Now the one thing Barry Riddell can't afford to do is get tail happy. He gets the power down, off goes Cameron Gilmore in the A30. Now is he going to be able to take to rejoin and take the flag? I hope so, because he certainly deserves that for what he's done so far. Ian Morton is there in the MG Midget, I think, is going to be lapped as well as they come up towards the line, and it's going to be Andrew Smith that takes the win, just about, because a clear second position as they go across the line. Barry Riddell got clear of Raymond Boyd and was putting the pressure on Andrew Smith. A quick look back, coming through there is Jimmy Crow, who's going to finish in 9th position. 10th position will go to Kieran Bailey, but we'll recap on all of those, starting with the race winner, Andrew Smith, car number 73, fastest lap for him too. Barry Riddell second from Ray Boyd. Robert Marshall, class winner, in 4th place ahead of Willie Toy. Stan Bernard comes home in 6th place. Donald Laird, class winner as well, ahead of Matthew Gordon and Jimmy Crow. Kieran Bailey ahead of Class A winner Nick Boyce. Robin Ben in 12th position, then George Leach and Colin Beveridge. Grant Allen 15th from Alan Barron, then Ian Morton and Scott Goodfellow in the Terrier 18th place. 19th Alistair Coates from Bruce Weir in 20th place, and Christy Doran bringing home the Triumph TR8 in 21st.
And the race winner from our first Classic Sports and Saloons race of the day in drying conditions is the man who started on pole position. Congratulations, great result.
Thank you.
Conditions out there, like I just said, drying, is that what you saw?
Fairly dry all round. Yeah, not much wet at all, so hopefully get a bit in the afternoon. That should spice it up a bit.
You want rain?
Yeah.
Not many people want wet conditions. Now, it was a win, obviously a dominant-ish win, but Barry, I mean, he's not featured at the front that much, but he was keeping you kind of honest.
For sure. Yeah, no, he's good driver, quick car, so on the case the whole time.
Were you expecting a dirty, stinking lunge up the inside from him at some point?
He has been known, but no, it was good clean driving, so all good.
Okay, good stuff. Hopefully you don't get your wish of rain in race 2, but I'll speak to you then.
Cheers, thank you.
Welcome to another episode of Racing No Filter. Joining me in sunny California, Bill Wood, and down in sunny Florida, Peter King.
We're going to take a look at some of the products HPD has created for the 2012 Honda Civic, and specifically we're going to show you how to install an adjustable sway bar.
Until then, folks out there, you take care.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new GoRacingTV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Cars on the grid for round 4 of the Scottish Classic Sports and Saloon Car Championship, with Andrew Smith on pole, Barry Riddell next to him, then it's Raymond Boyd and Robert Marshall, Willie Toy and Stan Bernard on row 3. 4th row, Donald Laird and Matt Gordon, Jimmy Crow and Kieran Bailey, Nick Boyce and Robin Ben completing the top dozen. They're followed by George Leach and Colin Beveridge, Grant Allen and Alan Barron, Ian Morton in the MG Midget and Scott Goodfellow next to him. 19th Alistair Coates, then Bruce Weir, followed by Christy Doran and Andy Walker, Cameron Gilmore in 23, Ian Longford next to him, Tommy Gilmartin and Michael Connon completing the grid. Michael Connon and Tommy Gilmartin sadly not out on circuit. Cameron Gilmore therefore at the back of the field, and away they go. Great start again by Andrew Smith. Barry Riddell in 2nd place. Robert Marshall gets away well from the outside of row 2 and up into 4th position now. Is coming Stan Bernard in the white Porsche 911. He's already got the class lead away from Raymond Boyd, who finished 3rd in race number 1, and Raymond, not having a great start, finds himself down in 6th position. Jimmy Crow and Donald Laird all over the back of him, with Robin Ben in the 3-litre Class D Ford Capri busy challenging him. So Ray Boyd won't be best happy with the way that started, but nonetheless Andrew Smith gets away from the front row of the grid in the Morgan Plus 8 in lead position. Barry Riddell again in 2nd position in the Class E car. Now listed on the timing sheets today as Class D, but he's running in Class E, Barry Riddell. Robert Marshall 3rd, then Stan Bernard, followed by Willie Toy, Raymond Boyd, then Jimmy Crow, Donald Laird. There is Robin Ben. down past Andy Walker's car into the Real Radio hairpin they go. Still Willie Toy back in 5th position. Not sure how Raymond Boyd came out of this. Let's have a look back. Raymond Boyd in the blue Porsche 911 is there as well. It looks like it's going to be a second in class at the moment for him. Stan still putting the pressure though on Robert Marshall. And he's going to have a look at the inside line as they go down into Scotsman Corner. Very hard on the brakes. It's going to compromise his exit speed just a little bit. Robert Marshall knows that he's in a battle here. Now these two, I remind you, in separate classes. Robert Marshall in Class C, Stan Bernard in Class D. So really they've got no sort of axe to grind with each other other than the pride of finishing ahead of each other. And that's where the multi-class structure really works. Because within class, I guess you could have some cars with more pounds spent on them, or more development, shall we say, over the years. As Stan Bernard looks down the inside into Real Radio. Is there room? Yes, there is. The camera deceives us slightly there on the angle, but Stan Bernard up into 3rd position, but Robert Marshall's not finished yet. You see the gear change there on Stan Bernard's getting so close without being squeezed onto the grass. Robert Marshall, there was room for him. Stan left in the room, but again, that was very tight, and just goes to show you that these guys, these cars, absolutely superb pieces of kit, but these guys are not afraid to get out there, race them side by side. There wasn't paint trading going on. We don't necessarily expect that in this classic formula, but the guys really giving us some very, very close racing, and they don't need to be doing it. As I remind you, they're separate classes. Class C car leading a Class D car at the moment for 3rd position. Meanwhile, down the road, Andrew Smith and Barry Riddell. Riddell keeping him honest. Now here comes Stan Bernard. Stan Bernard looking down the inside again as they come into the hairpin. Robert Marshall gets just a little bit snaky. Out of that they go, back end out on the Porsche as well. Now that takes some doing actually in a 911. They're very, very tricky cars, Porsches. I've got to say that the Escort, certainly you'll see much people being a lot happier with a tail happy Escort than you were with a 911, and this is cracking on the limit driving from both of these drivers. And Stan Bernard now looking down the inside at Scotsman Corner again. He can't quite do it, but he really is giving Robert Marshall notice of intent that he wants to have a go. And Marshall hangs on to 3rd position on the road, clearly still the leader in Class C. Let's just recap in terms of classes where we are. Andrew Smith, of course, won the race in race 1 in Class E. Class D going to Ray Boyd in his 911, one of 3 911s in the race. He's got 3 911s, 3 TR8s. And I have to come back to classes in a minute or so. That was Alan Barron that we just saw in the Class A Alpha Sud Sprint. Alan finishing 4th in Class A, which was won by Nick Boys in the Mini Cooper. George Leach in the Fiesta, 2nd in Class A in race 1, and Colin Beveridge 3rd. Now Robert Marshall was Class C winner with Alistair Coates in 2nd position as through into 3rd position in the race. This time at Duffers Deep goes Stan Bernard, and now can Robert Marshall fight back? Well, Bernard very clearly had a lot more to offer going down Duffers Deep and into Scotsman, and he tried the move on the previous 2 laps into Scotsman, and this time I think must have had a better run out of the hairpin and grabbed 3rd position as they go down Duffers Dip, and he's through into 3rd. So it looks like an overall podium on the cards for Stan Bernard, but you could bet that Robert Marshall's going to fight back. The Marshall Construction Escort certainly running well today. Down behind them it's Willie Toy in 5th place, Raymond Boyd at the moment running in 6th position, Donald Laird in Class B, the left-hand drive load Celan. I think the lone starter in Class B, so he's not going to pick up maximum points. Now bear in mind that Stan finished 2nd in class in the first race. That's going to drop him to 5th in the championship from joint 1st. Lights on from Stan, and it's going to be 100 points at the end of this meeting if things stay the way they are. Robert Marshall, Nick Boys in the Mini Cooper, and Andrew Smith in the Morgan Plus 8 past Cameron Gilmore. He's had a reasonable amount of coverage today, as Cameron, rightly so, in the Austin A30, as the race leaders happen upon back markers. Cameron the first of those. Marshall with his lights on now as well. So let's see if we can grab a quick look. Willie Toy, ever spectacular in the TR8 as they go onto his lops. There is Raymond Boyd running in 5th position. Quick look back down the order. I said there were 3 911s running. There is the 3rd one. Grant Allen, car number 41. Alan Barron ahead of him. Donald Laird, I beg your pardon, George Leach in the Ford Fiesta is just ahead of them as well. But here comes Andrew Smith, still leading from Barry Riddell in 2nd position. Fastest lap of the race to Stan Bernard in 3rd place. So Andrew Smith not going to get fastest lap in this one, I don't think, but being kept honest by Barry Riddell in 2nd position. Andrew's best lap 59.803, Stan 59.7 dead, Barry Riddell 59.945, and there's Stan Bernard. You can see why he's closing in. So Stan Bernard now after a 2nd position, but it's Class E 1st and 2nd, Class D in 3rd place. Robert Marshall leading Class C in 4th position and still getting that tail end out, which is very, very spectacular. Hairpin again, and some back marker traffic up ahead. We've got Christy Doran there, just looking at the inside line of Ian Morton. That's TR8 versus MG Midget as the cars go on to the last lap here. 2 good races that we've had from the Classics this weekend. Through goes Cameron, a lap down in car number 33. Now Christy Doran, who the race lead is closing up on, is really improving race by race. Best lap in race 1, 1 minute 6.03. In this race, Christy, 1 minute 4.203. That's a measure of how well the popular young lady teenage racer is doing. She's getting better and better race by race, and I think she might find herself a lap down here, because Andrew Smith, if you could nip past these 2 cars before they get to the checkered flag at the end of this lap, challenge on for 2nd position. Riddell and Bernard still at it, but look at this gaggle of back markers. Let's try and pick a few off. Morton's been passed in the MG. Christy Doran now passed in the Triumph TR8. Ahead of them, 32 Alistair Coates in the Jensen and Bruce Weir in the Lotus Sunbeam. But there is the checkered flag coming out for Andrew Smith, who takes his 2nd win of the day, 4th win of the season. Barry Riddell just in 2nd place from Stan Bernard. Andrew Smith wins overall and Class E from Barry Riddell. Stan Bernard winner of Class D. Robert Marshall winner of Class C from Willie Toy. Then Raymond Boyd in 6th position. 7th Jimmy Crow. 8th position Class B winner Donald Laird. 9th was Robin Bent from Nick Boyce, who wins Class A. Grant Allen 11th and Alan Barron in 12th. George Leach 13th from Colin Beveridge. Then it was Bruce Weir ahead of Alistair Coates and Christy Doran. Ian Morton in 18th and Cameron Gilmore completing the runners in 19th place.
And our winner from the Class B, Nick Boyes, scraping into the top 10.
Yes, absolutely delighted today because it's bone dry, and the Mini was up there chasing the TVR, just having a whale of a time.
It's strange the reaction we get with the weather. A lot of people, like our winner overall, praying for rain, but obviously with the wee Mini dry conditions.
No, I prefer the wet. In fact, the wetter the better for me, because it gets rid of the power of the faster cars.
And that lets you obviously keep with them with the front wheel drive.
Yes, well, with the wee car, with the small engine, it's momentum everywhere. So I have to have full commitment in the corners, and try and not to lose too much pace on the straights. So
these guys are wrestling with huge power in a rear wheel drive car.
That's right. As soon as it gets greasy, they're struggling for grip, and meanwhile, I'm hopefully making up time on them. But today it's dry and brilliant fun.
Well done. It's certainly a lovely looking machine.
Could I just say some thank yous?
Of course you can.
Because I'm getting a lot of support from Gordon Rogers, Slark Racing and Douglas Anderson, and I'd just like to pay this win to them. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of help, this, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Can't do it without their support.
Well done. Great result.
Thank you very much.
That's all we have time for from the Scottish Sports Saloons and the Classic Sports Saloons. Do join us later in the year for more exciting action from Knockhill Racing Circuit.